This week, we saw some very interesting things happen in the world of game news. We may be witnessing the death of Konami, or at least Konami as we know it. Valve has backtracked on a very controversial matter, and as per usual, we've had a glut of awesome indie games released. This is the Blackman and Robin Game News Update. The music for this week's episode was provided by Epic Game Music. You can check out more of his stuff at youtube.com/extronzzzzz, or on Twitter at Epic Game Music. To start with, Valve has gone back on a very controversial move that it made earlier last week. You see, Valve teamed up with Bethesda in order to make it possible to sell paid mods for Skyrim on the Steam Workshop. What Valve didn't seem to anticipate was the massive backlash that came from the gaming and modding communities. A petition on change.org garnered over 100,000 signatures against paid mods on the Steam Workshop. Over the weekend, Gabe Newell went to Reddit and held an AMA. He answered questions that people had regarding paid mods, and was better able to explain why the company would make such a move. He went on to explain that about half of Valve came out of the mod world. John Cook and Robin Walker, he said, made Team Fortress as a Quake mod, and IceFrog made DotA as a Warcraft 3 mod. Seeing as these are some of Valve's biggest franchises, it does make some sense that they would want the modding community to somehow profit from their work, but apparently the modding community was not at all happy with the execution. So, what did you guys think? I opened up the question to the fans of Game News Update, and you guys responded. Over on Instagram, the general consensus seems to be that paid mods can work, but Valve messed it up. Ryan Freed said that if Valve did a better job policing the paid mods, he would have been on board, and he loves supporting modders, but mods like Enhanced Bread with a $20 price tag is just a lack of quality control on Valve's part. Indeed, the lack of quality control, that is, proper curation, is something that Valve had boasted as a feature of these paid mods, which was definitely a mistake on their part. Well, Ryan, congratulations. Your opinion has won you a copy of Waking Mars for Steam. Meanwhile on Twitter, Lord Azula thought that paid mods were stupid, though Larry Bird thought that you deserve to be paid for your hard work. Thanks to everybody who gave their opinions and entered to win a Steam key. If you'd like to try and enter to win a key, well, keep watching the show, as we've got yet another one to give away. Speaking of things being cancelled, everybody suspects that Konami just might be dying. Earlier in the week, Konami delisted itself from the New York Stock Exchange. Later in the week, it was revealed that Silent Hills, their horror game that was being worked on with Guillermo del Toro, had been cancelled. There had been rumors of unrest at Konami in the past couple of weeks. Now, being delisted from the NYSE and having a cancelled project isn't necessarily indication of a company going under. Unfortunately for Konami, there are other things afoot. Hideo Kojima, their best-loved creative talent, will be leaving the company after the next Metal Gear Solid. While Konami might not be going out of business, there is a good chance that they'll be leaving the games industry as we know them today. Often, when a company delists itself from the stock exchange, it's indicative of an internal restructuring happening. There's a chance that Konami is going to wind up being steered by investors in pursuit of seemingly safe investments, such as cell phone games and pachinko machines. For now, we'll keep an eye out for a humble Konami bundle. If that happens, you can be sure that they're going down. In significantly happier news, Shadowrun Chronicles Boston Lockdown has just been released. This cyberpunk fantasy RPG set in Boston, as you may have guessed from the title, is yet another game set in the massively successful cyberpunk universe of Shadowrun. It's an RPG with some strategy elements. It's rather like XCOM. It has both solo and co-op modes, so if this sounds like your sort of thing, check it out. If you're a fan of Endless Runners, you'll probably have heard of their granddaddy, Cannibalt. Well, good news, Cannibalt has just hit Steam. The game has been available for a very long time on PC, but only now is it available on everybody's favorite digital distribution platform. The Steam version of the game includes new music from video game rapper Mega Ran.
I'm Mega Ran. Passion is never faded, fashion is never dated. I had to make it while these rappers hesitated, asking who it be that's causing that insanity's like trying to play a nun in Cards Against Humanity. I used to keep it real, now I keep it fun and interesting. I told them I was serious, but they weren't listening. My spitting is blue flame, kicking like Liu Kang. Inhale toxic fumes, exhale butane. My grip is turbulence, sharpen my focus and spotted my opening. So now I'm going in like a plug in the socket. A picture of someone you love and a locket. A loose change, search hands dug in the pocket. Birds and the birds and the thugs and the projects feel me. Rap here from Jaeger, live here playing out clearing paper. So I fly like a weatherman and a chopper that never lands. Understand I rock, keep those hands to the firmament. We the tournament, you the journalist. Keep your mouth shut unless you're winning it. The basis, those tigers. Get a turn, get to stop the bleeding. We came here to rock this evening. Like a Ram Murdoch, K to B. We all look alike, but we family.
Listen, I'd like to tell you a story. A story of another person your age, a young girl. She wanted to live a normal life, but she was chosen. She was honored with a special duty.
Broken Age Act 2 was also released on Steam this week, as well as the PlayStation 4 version. Act 2 of Broken Age is the long-awaited other half of Double Fine's massive Kickstarter success. The story, in a few words, is that it follows a boy and a girl living in parallel worlds. The boy lives in a space station and is sheltered by an overly maternalistic computer. The girl, meanwhile, lives in a small village with a dark secret. Every so often, there's a beast that must be appeased with human sacrifice. Our own Justin Eccles is reviewing the game for PlayStation 4. Expect a review on blackmanandrobin.com soon. A very beautiful game caught my eye this week. Earth Tongue was released on Steam, and it's a fungus/insect growing game. It's set in space, and your goal is to maintain a balanced ecosystem. There's something I really like about the game's art style. It reminds me a little bit of some of the older games for much, much older PCs, like Commodore 64 type things. You'll have to forgive me if I'm wrong about the way that games looked on the Commodore 64, as I have to catch up on my retro computing, but this game definitely does seem to draw on the past, both in theme and spirit. While we're on the subject, Cosmocoria has just left early access on Steam, and has seen a full release. Cosmocoria is a very interesting game in which you are a baby floating through space, and your goal is to fight aliens and bring life to barren asteroids and planets. I've played quite a bit of Cosmocoria, and I really love it. It's a lot like Asteroids, but with some more creative elements, which I appreciate. Imagine, if you will, the space shooting of Asteroids, but with a base building element all its own. The game has lots of personality. There's definitely some strange, mysterious chunks of story going on in there, though I confess I'm not very good at the game and haven't gotten very far, so I can't say exactly what's going on. That said, it's definitely worth checking out if it sounds like your sort of thing. Cosmocoria is currently available for Mac, PC, and Linux. Yet another game has left early access this week. This time it's Kerbal Space Program. Now, Kerbal Space Program is a rather unusual sort of game. It's a space administration simulator in which you have a lot of money and very few safety constraints. You send these little dudes called Kerbals into outer space. Sometimes they don't quite come back home. Overall, it's a really fun game, and what's interesting about it is that it uses real orbital mechanics. You can learn actual rocket science while playing Kerbal Space Program, but you don't have to be a rocket scientist to enjoy the game. Personally, I'm a huge fan of the game. I've learned a lot about outer space, orbital mechanics, and actual rocket building thanks to Kerbal Space Program. I mean, I wouldn't put myself in charge of a space program after having played, but thanks to Kerbal Space Program, I have a much greater appreciation for rocket science, astronomy, and physics. If you're a fan of the off-road racing franchise Dirt, you'll be pleased to know that Dirt Rally was just released on PC for early access. Currently in development by Codemasters, the early access version of the game, thus far, has gotten great reception from the fans. I have to say, for a game called Dirt, it certainly doesn't look like Dirt. During the Microsoft Build Developer Conference, there was plenty of talk about DirectX 12. A tech demo from Square Enix was shown off using the engine, and it was really quite gorgeous. The name of the demo is Witch Chapter 0, Cry, and it showed off some incredible effects for human skin, eyes, water, and lighting. The demo was shown to be running in real time on a PC. Now, this PC was a very powerful PC. It boasted not one, not two, but 4 NVIDIA GTX Titans. So, in short, you're not going to be seeing these gorgeous graphics on your PC anytime soon unless you have a monster rig. That said, it's exciting to consider what the future just might bring. After all, our PCs will one day be able to handle it, just not quite today. Still, the possibilities that DirectX 12 opens up are definitely exciting. What do you think about this? Will we ever see games with the level of detail that these tech demos have been promising for years, or are they just a far-off pipe dream? You can let us know on Twitter and on Instagram. Just follow at Blackman and Robin on either service and shoot us a tweet or leave us a comment. If we like what you say, we'll be sure to feature your comment next week and shoot you a Steam key if you're the winner. Now, in case you'd like to know what you're winning, Distant Star Revenant Fleet is a really cool roguelike game that's a lot like FTL Faster Than Light, but there are some pivotal differences. It has more fleet management elements, and the story is rather different as well. It's a really cool game from Blazing Griffin, and I definitely recommend checking it out. A trailer that caught my eye this week was for a game called Toren. From the looks of things, it's going to be a very beautiful adventure game from the Brazilian developer Swordtales. In Toren, you play as a girl named Moonchild. You must climb the titular tower of Toren in a world in which time has stopped. You see, in the world of Toren, the sun beats upon the land forever, and a dragon guards the tower and will try to keep the Moonchild from finding freedom up there. As Moonchild, you have to save the world, and, in a way, save yourself. From the looks of things, the game seems rather symbolic and heavy, and I definitely like the theme. It's set to come out on the PlayStation 4 and PC on May 12, 2015.
It's up to you to find our new beginning.
One rather unusual project I stumbled across this week was something called Let's Robot. You may have heard of the Twitch Plays Pokemon phenomenon, in which a group of people played Pokemon via the Twitch chat, and you may have also heard of the game Choice Chamber, in which the Twitch chat is employed in order to change a platformer's levels. Well, imagine what would happen if Twitch took control of a tiny Lego robot. It sounds crazy, right? I got to try it, and I can assure you, it is crazy. Crazy fun. You and a bunch of other people have to cooperate in order to navigate a little robot around a maze, fight off monsters, and accomplish goals. While the whole thing is still a bit of a work in progress, it's a very cool work in progress. It's supremely creative, and it gives me hope that one day we'll see Twitch Plays Robot Wars. One day. If you're a Dota player, you may have already noticed that the 6.84 update has just hit Dota 2. The 6.84 update reworks several heroes. For example, Alchemist can now cast Aghanim Scepter on any allied hero in order to grant the Scepter bonus as a permanent buff throughout the game. Broodmother, meanwhile, has been buffed. Her insatiable hunger is now stronger, and her incapacitating bite is no longer a unique attack modifier. Legion Commander, meanwhile, has also received her own Aghanim Scepter upgrade. Her ultimate ability, with an Ag, causes a duel to last until one duelist or the other is defeated. I can imagine the duels now. My name is Legion Commander. You killed my caddy. Mildor feed. On the subject of the best MOBA ever, the Dota 2 International Prize Pool has just opened up. At the time of production, the Dota 2 International Tournament Prize Pool had made over $3 million. This was money that Valve made by selling compendium tickets to fans of Dota. By purchasing a compendium ticket, you'll be able to watch the big Dota 2 tournament live from the comfort of your own computer. The more money that gets added to the prize pool, the more cool stuff is unlocked by Valve for fans of Dota 2. For instance, there are weather effects at stake, rare items, and at the $15 million level, Axe gets a new Immortal item, as well as a long-form comic. On the subject of comics, if you happen to be watching this episode of Game News Update on May 2nd, 2015, great news! It's Free Comic Book Day. Be sure to visit your local comic book store and see what they have handy. Another multiplayer game to receive an important update this week was Robot Roller Derby Disco Dodgeball. The latest update to this bizarre but fun arena shooter had support for the Steam Workshop. If you've ever wanted to share a custom Spotify playlist with other Robot Roller Derby Disco Dodgeball fans, create hats, sunglasses, or other items for the game, or have the sweet sounds of a song that you created in Robot Roller Derby Disco Dodgeball, great news. This new update will allow you to do all of that. In case you're not familiar with this game, you really should check out our review on blackmanandrobin.com, but the game really is as literal as it sounds. You're a robot playing dodgeball in a disco on roller skates. It's a very fast-paced shooter that's a lot like Quake on Instagib mode. If you've been looking for a new arena shooter with a great sense of humor and a friendly community, you owe it to yourself to check out Disco Derby Dodgeball. Robot Roller Derby Disco Dodgeball. Trust me. The game is available for Mac, PC, and Linux, and this weekend it's on sale. It's 40% off either a single copy of the game or a 4-pack of the game if you want to get into it with some friends. In Kickstarter news, some of the folks from Rare, that is the creative talent behind the Banjo-Kazooie and Donkey Kong Country games, have gotten together in order to form their own studio, Platonic Games. They've kicked off the Kickstarter for Yooka-Laylee, the spiritual successor to Banjo-Kazooie. At the time of production, the Kickstarter had been in existence for less than 24 hours, and yet they've raised over $1.3 million of their meager $270,000 goal. There are still 45 days to go for the Kickstarter. In Yooka-Laylee, you play as Yooka, the chameleon, and Laylee, the bat, and you go on adventures collecting things that, according to the developers, will expand gameplay in a meaningful way. These guys have already blasted past a bunch of stretch goals. There's going to be a PC, Mac, Linux, Wii U, Xbox One, and PS4 version of the game, and it's due to be released October of 2016. Additionally, thanks to the stretch goals that they've busted past, the game will feature multiplayer for 2 to 4 players, and thanks to the latest stretch goal achieved, there will be extra multiplayer games added to the multiplayer mode. Yooka-Laylee is currently aiming at an October 2016 release. If you're a fan of 4X games, you'll want to check out the latest expansion for Endless Legend. It's called Guardians. It's the game's first paid content expansion, and it brings 5 new Guardian units, 10 new legendary deeds, 5 legendary buildings, etc., etc. It really expands the game. Now, these Guardian units are part of the lore. They've long been chained by the Endless. They're giant elemental guardians, and they're awake after a good long rest. The expansion goes for $9.99 on Steam. While I confess to having not yet tried it, I have played lots of Endless Legend, and that game is absolutely fantastic. Check out our review at blackmanandrobin.com if 4X strategy games are your thing. Another game that caught my eye was the time-looping adventure game Elsinore. It just hit Kickstarter, and it's set in the world of Hamlet. However, you're not playing as Hamlet. Rather, you're playing as Ophelia, and you live your life Groundhog Day style. You've had a terrible vision. Everybody in Elsinore Castle is going to die in 4 days, and you must find some way to change the future. According to the developers, giving the right piece of information to a character at the wrong time can have disastrous effects. At the time of this video's production, Elsinore had already raised $2,000 more than its $12,000 goal. If the game reaches $18,000, a pirate ship and a new character will be added. If the game makes $45,000, the developers will also start working on an iPad version. Elsinore is set to come out April 2016 for Mac, PC, and Linux. On May 7, 2015, Nintendo is set to hold a live Nintendo Direct regarding the upcoming ink-shooting squid game Splatoon. This Nintendo Direct can be watched at nintendo.com/Nintendo-Direct on May 7th at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Nintendo is also set to hold a special Splatoon event in Santa Monica, California on May 15th, 2015. They've invited celebrities to participate in the Splatoon Mess Fest. Essentially, these celebs will be playing Splatoon in real life. They have to navigate an ink-filled obstacle course inspired by the game. It sounds a little bit ridiculous, but it also sounds like the sort of thing that Nintendo would do. Finally, we have the trailer for a very cute upcoming rocket-jumping platformer called Inertia. Inertia is coming to PC, PS4, and Xbox One, and in the game, you play as a little robot with unlimited rockets. Rockets with jump. Take a look. Well, that's it for this week's game news. Be sure to follow at Blackman and Robin on Twitter for all the latest game news, reviews, previews, and interviews. Be sure to follow me at Jordan_Cameron for my other views.